Welcome everyone to the game between Praggnanandhaa and Hans Niemann at the FIDE World Rapid Team Championships 2026. Praggnanandhaa playing for the team of Chess Gurukul and Hans Niemann playing for Endgame.ai. Now this is a game that we haven't published yet on our channel, and we wanted to show this to you because Pragg went on to win the gold medal on board 1 in the rapid section, and one of the key games was this one as he played one of the best players in the world, Hans Niemann. Pawn to e4, e5 played by Hans, knight comes out to f3, knight c6, and we have bishop to c4. The Italian is on the board. Hans brings his knight out to f6, pawn to d3, and we have the main line of the Italian. Bishop to c5 played here, and Pragg goes a3, somehow playing completely different. You know, c3 is one of the main moves, or you castle. Hans castles with black, and Pragg goes knight to c3. The idea of a3 may be to expand with b4, also create a luft for the bishop to come back. Whenever white plays their knight on c3, I feel that it's a pretty toothless way to play, but I think Pragg is not trying for an opening advantage. He's just trying to play something very simple, where he can play quickly. As you can see, he hasn't even spent a few seconds on the clock. d6, castles, and maybe Hans can say, I want 100% symmetry, and he does it. He goes bishop e6, and look at this. If Pragg takes, it would be absolute symmetry after 10 moves. Wow. Okay, what's Pragg going to do next now? Is he going to break in the center with d4? Yes, he does it. And that kind of will break the symmetry, because now you can no longer play d5. e5 pawn would be hanging. So if you take here, I can take back, and that looks like a pleasant position for white. So Hans goes queen e8, and Pragg pushes even one step forward. And Hans finds the best move. He goes knight d8. He's asking Pragg to take here when his pawns would be undoubled and white would still have the doubled pawns. Queen e2, knight goes to f7. And now Pragg plays a cool move, queen c4, putting pressure on this diagonal. We have pawn takes pawn, and now knight takes d5, takes the pawn on d5, attacking c7. I guess taking on d5 makes sense. And would you take it with the pawn? Yes. So the c7 pawn is a bit soft. But Hans goes queen b5. He doesn't defend it, because if you take here, rook a c8, and you lose this pawn here, almost the queen is trapped. So he goes knight d2, and now plays c6. Could have even taken on c4, but c6 is fine. He's getting rid of the pressure here. Pragg takes, pawn takes back, and knight to e4 played. If you were to take cd, then knight c3 attacks b5 and d5. So he plays rook a4, attacking the knight. The game is getting a bit sharp now. Knight c3 by Pragg. And you have rook to c4. The rook comes in on a good square. Can we go rook a d1? Pragg goes rook f2. He's going after the f file. And Hans goes knight to g5. He brings his knight on a good square. He's looking at e4. And now you can trade the rooks, but he keeps the rooks on the board. Rook d2, idea to take and take on d6. And Hans goes all in. He sacrifices an exchange. Rook takes c3. Crazy move. I don't think even Pragg may have anticipated it. Knight to e4. He wants to take here. Rook d1, take on c3. So he takes, knight takes c3, and now d5 is hanging. So if rook d3, maybe this is possible, rook d3, e4. But Pragg plays d takes c6. And he gives back the exchange. Takes on d6, equal pawns. This should be around about even, because you can go rook a8 and attack a3. But instead he goes rook to c8, slightly passive. This should be dead equal, you know. White's king is coming in. The only thing that's working for white is the active rook. But rest all, everything seems equal. Okay, let's see what Pragg does now. King f3, king e4 is what he's trying. He's trying to get his king slightly more active, rook slightly more active. Okay, rook a8 makes a lot of sense now. But then there was check and he would have lost c6. So he goes c5 first. Can we move with the king into e4? Pragg, who is down to 5 minutes 30 seconds. King e4 played. Putting pressure, check. b4. Oh, Hans getting rid of the a3 weakness, but he sees that takes c2 would become a weakness. Check. And king to e7. He could go active with king g5, but king e7, and now king takes e5 is the best move. So he takes on e5, king takes, but now ba3 is met with rook a6. So maybe rook a8, he takes, and now rook a6, he goes behind the pawn. The a3 pawn is under pressure, rook f8, he wants to get the rook active. Good play there by Hans. He's going to lose a pawn, but he gets his rook in. Now c2 and g2, both are hanging. Check. King goes back to f8. Can we threaten a checkmate? But there's rook f6 check back. So he goes g4. But I think you can take the pawn. Rook takes h2 because king e6, there's rook h6 check. But Hans makes a huge mistake. He pushes h5. Oh my goodness. He just makes a huge mistake. g5 is what is winning for Pragg. I don't know if Hans missed it, because now after g5, rook h2, king e6, there's no check over here. Somehow the king is completely smothered and he plays g5. Pragg finds this move. Hans Niemann in big trouble. Rook takes h2, king e6. This is over. This is over. It's almost a mate. Pragg is calculating, is it g6? I think g6 wouldn't work here. King e6, because g6 you have rook g2. He plays king e6. Great move here by Praggnanandhaa. With minimal material, 3 pawns and rook per side, he's winning now. King f6, threatening mate, attacking g6. He plays king f6. The king comes to e8, he takes on g6, h4. Now, king h7, g6, g7, g8. It's a direct path to queening. But you have to calculate, the h pawn is also rushing down. Pragg looks up, he has a minute on the clock, he plays it with 30 seconds. King h7, h3, g6, pushes h3, g6 pushed, rook g2, stopping the pawn, but can we go g7? He pushes g7, threatening to queen, h2, and the rook can come back. Simple move, stopping the pawn. If you play rook g1, I'll simply make a queen and win the game. And so Hans Niemann resigns. Praggnanandhaa scores a very, very cool win from a very equal opening. He didn't even press much, but he just kept it going. I think Praggnanandhaa's just willingness